Hey everyone, good morning. Today we're talking about pregnancy and childbirth, or this week rather, we're talking about pregnancy and childbirth. A couple of things. I have never had a child, and so everything that I'm talking about is hypothetical. I've never been somebody who is pregnant, nor do I ever want to be pregnant or have babies. But it is something that a lot of people do want and do desire. And so a lot of what I'm talking about is just from a theoretical sort of perspective. Generally, when I have this class in the real space, not in virtual space, I have a midwife come in, a local midwife who's really great and talks about a lot of different sort of things about midwifery and about having babies and all these other sort of things, because it's just not my jam and it's not my sort of thing. And so I like to have people who are passionate about childbirth to talk about it rather than somebody who's like, meh, not really my thing. So I'm not going to lecture traditionally like I do on all the things, because this chapter is really got a lot of technical sort of stuff in it, and that stuff is great, but I assume you can read, and so you don't need me to just repeat everything that is in the chapter. One of the things that I think is really important to think about when we think about sort of pregnancy and childbirth is that you have options. For a lot of people, there's this sort of narrative that has been strongly built that, you know, when you get pregnant, then you go to a doctor and then you'll deliver in the hospital, and these are all the sort of things. But there are other options, and it's one of the reasons that I bring a midwife into my class, is because I think it is important for people to know that a hospital birth is not the only way to go, and that most people can actually have an at-home birth or a midwife-assisted birth rather than a traditional sort of medicalized birth. And a lot of people don't know that. A lot of people think, you know, it's risky, it's all these sort of things, but for like 90% of people, they can have a baby at home just totally naturally, and everything is fine. Now, that's not to say that if you want to have a hospital birth, there's anything wrong with that, but I think it's important that we have a better narrative about what sort of options that you have. The most important thing with pregnancy is hopefully you plan your pregnancy. As we talked about last week, about 50% of births in the United States are unplanned. Unplanned pregnancies don't give you time to sort of do the preparation for having a baby that creates the best possible outcomes, but we know that people do have quite some time once they do find out that they're pregnant to be able to have a healthy pregnancy. And so my encouragement is always for all of you to use birth control, be aware of these sort of things, and plan pregnancies, because that is going to give you the best health outcome for you and whoever you decide to have a family with, if anybody, and for the baby that you might be bringing into this world. Again, that's not to say you can't do all healthy, happy, wonderful things if it is unplanned, but we know that that planned is perhaps the best. Once you are pregnant, there are lots of different sort of options. One of the things that I would recommend, just sort of if this is your jam, if this is something that you're really interested in, is to watch this documentary called The Business of Being Born, and the follow-up documentary, The Business of Being Born 2, which talks a lot about sort of the medicalization of childbirth and pregnancy. And I think there's some really important information in there. Again, not a bad thing to have a labor and delivery in a hospital and to do sort of traditional Western medical care. But there are other options. And I think it's something that we don't do a lot of talking about. So this week, the most important thing I want you to do is watch some babies being born. I have found that for a lot of people, they haven't seen this. They've seen Hollywood versions of it, or they've thought about it, but they've never seen actual childbirth. And so this week there are 3 childbirth videos for you to watch. One is a traditional hospital birth. The family was actually planning to do a home birth, but it turns out they needed to go to the hospital, so there is a hospital birth. There is a documentary on midwifery and at-home births, and then there is a C-section video. The C-section video is a medical video. It is pretty graphic because it is a surgery. Usually people find that one to be the hardest to watch. It's really interesting, and I think it's an important sort of process to think about, but it's one that, you know, you have to be a little careful with, because if you're squeamish and those sort of things, I've had people kind of freak out on that one. But it's a very normal, nice sort of video, but it definitely is a brutal sort of process, and so it is something that I think is really important. And so that's about it this week. If you have any questions, shoot them to me, but I think pretty much it's a straightforward sort of chapter, and I think looking at the bigger sort of societal pictures around planning for pregnancy and how we do these sort of things in contemporary America are the bigger issues that I'm interested in. All right, remember your term papers are coming up soon, so make sure you get those done. I want to have you have good papers since they're a big part of your grade. I will talk to you later. Bye.